Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Samuel Kaba Akoria, has arrived in Salaga in the Savannah region to engage key stakeholders as efforts intensify to resolve tensions surrounding the disappearance of a baby at the Salaga Government Hospital. The incident, which has sparked public outrage and heightened tensions in the municipality, has prompted a series of emergency meetings involving health authorities, security agencies, traditional leaders and local government officials. The visit by the Ghana Health Service Director General is expected to reassure residents, assess the situation firsthand and strengthen ongoing efforts to address concerns surrounding the case. We'll be speaking to my colleague Christopher Mwako, who's been following this story since it broke very shortly. But first, let's hear the Director General addressing the press upon his arrival.
Fortunately, recent developments in the area has it that we have lost one of our babies. I do understand what this means, and I do feel it very much, being myself somebody who has been born in a house, in a small village. And I've seen how other mothers like my mother suffered so much during the 9 months to get to labor. I've seen the emotional trauma, and being the Director General for a year and a half, and even before that, I've held in my hands many women who have lost their babies, and I know that what that means. Even let me just say that yesterday, as at 6 o'clock, I was in the theater operating on my own brother with a team of neurosurgeons. I had that feeling of what it means to have to operate on somebody so closer to you. How much more to talk of somebody that you so close to you that you lose. I also understand the complexities of our society, but it is in times of this that we say and we call for more unity, and we say that in the life of every generation, that spirit of coming together, sacrifice, is what history will remember us for. This tragedy is being seen, analyzed, discussed by the highest authority. In fact, I am here following a discussion with the Minister of Health, who intended also discuss with our bosses to do a quick fact findings, to extend our sincere apology to the chiefs and the people of the land, to also assure you that beyond this, we are putting every little thing in place to make sure that this never occurs again.
And you have the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Samuel Kaba Akoria. Let's speak to Christopher Mwako, who is currently with the team there assessing the Salaga Government Hospital situation. Christopher, we just heard the Director General of the Ghana Health Service there, but what more can you tell us as regards what is happening, first of all, with the missing baby saga? I know yesterday the family had warned that they were going to protest there until they got some positive response.
Yes, so I can confirm to you that the Director General of the Ghana Health Service is currently in Salaga. He's at the Pembure's Palace, engaging the traditional authorities and other stakeholders as we speak. He's just giving the assurances that the service will collaborate and cooperate with security agencies to do a thorough investigation in this matter. He's also been assuring the people that peace is paramount and that he's going to ensure that they handle this matter professionally, such that it does not affect the investigations that are currently ongoing.
But in terms of the protests and the atmosphere of the hospital area, what would you tell us about it?
Yes, so the Municipal Chief Executive has indicated that currently, as we speak today, there will be a music meeting. This is the fourth time they are going to have a music meeting since the incident happened. And so he's also invited the Director General to be part. The Konkomba Youth Association has also visited the community and are currently at the Chief's Palace. And so all stakeholders are on board to ensure that tensions are calm for the smooth investigations of this particular matter.
You did tell us earlier that the Director General of the Ghana Health Service was interacting with the chiefs. Have we had any of the chiefs speaking yet?
Yes, so the Pemura has spoken. He's also appealed to the youth to calm down and allow the security services to do a thorough investigation. The Konkomba chief in the area has also spoken. Let's take a listen to what they've been saying.
Asam directly wo modern su say Konkomba for the Tokoba me na ohini nim sa asam ade yira ye hwehwe abe na eba boaye enye adwemu na wayira enye ayenu na wayira hospital na oba ko wo akoda fufuro na wayira aben sam na akoda na ayira aben so na so omo awo oho me eba akwada we oba we akwada me ni ho me yachifu me ni ho oba no ne nekunu na ewa oho omu na omu ni ni pakura ono omu hospital akwada we ayira omu so akire adan so akire omu ebe omu kwa maraso na nta ba me ni bonu say wenja asaso a ya wono yempe asam adi asam de nye de besrae mpa ba me ni bonu say yami ona ewo nipa kura wo ya dewi yemi yi no maye ni pai bo no nipa kura wo di kwadi abro wo di kwadane ni ba kwankura yami be boaye na wo yi nipa na maye ende na me pai bo ndi asan we de aba na eya na yire ma yare na me to sisi ama asan we nti okuta nipa dodo mu a asan ba obi ani na adwin Mimiti hono asana omo ka mo banso no nipa ko wonfiri Salaga ha kokoma ni a okase obebe be si hospital wonfiri ha menino obawe o akwada bedru ndai mba bebre muguso won kwada ho betu ndai na yesi hospital we a afa so be na ho bibia ya butari.
And you heard the Konkomba chief there. Chris, can you tell us, all right, we've lost Christopher Amoako there, bringing us updates as regards what's happening in Salaga already. Like I did tell you, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service is there interacting with stakeholders in that part of the country just to ensure there's peace. Now, a humanitarian crisis is unfolding in the Prestea Himan area of the Western region, where over 250 residents have been displaced after days of non-stop rainfall. The downpour has triggered massive flooding, submerging homes and destroying properties. Irama Smith reports that the assembly member and traditional leaders have stepped in with temporary shelter, even as they await urgent intervention from the municipal assembly.
For days now, the rains have not stopped in Prestea Himan, and for over 250 residents, the result has been devastating. Homes have been inundated, belongings destroyed, families forced to flee to higher ground as flood waters swallowed their communities.
Yet 50 sada 1 o'clock, it's not Bontiama ditching, and in there. Still, 1 hour for 1 hour. Ye didn't wear while I'm pointing to go school. And your mouth for a good dame. Them when you so.
But I feel a day, dear. Nsonya ti me tuye eduane ebedio atale ebesho peyin bia ntimi membe bi san se him fampo na moda ana se yenkwale na gugu asoda omo nko school omo ye hwe
sia yentimi nko adwuma yentale na aka nsu yentimi nko adwuma.
But in the midst of this crisis, local leaders are stepping up. Assembly member Yabako and the traditional leader are helping provide temporary accommodation for the displaced. Some victims have been sheltered at the Christian Divine Church with others at a local guest house.
Ya kompre amomo se mama bia nkonsu ni. O se bo wa o yin nyoma bia nyoma ni konsu ni sase ba na yama bia se wontu. Amanfo hangom nyoma ko dan so. Di aka wase me aka ma aka na fa mi su ya se mama bia nko. O se sensu ni se o tun di abatan den. E de ba. O de nyoma beble na na msu ni. Wa hwe na ko popula den. Ewo. Tiga me de message say e den ko anya sebi. Ti wa be konsu mo na hwe bibi ko ye wa na sa ko fa sam fa de. E de abanti mi sama manfo say omunya botrema ni de.
The displaced families are in urgent need of food, clean water, clothing and medical supplies.
Me ba me da solid dem. Sabe ma edom bebre nkwala nketenkete kan ye ma nyina kan so na ja. Ye nya atade nse ye mattress nyina afo. Ne de da ye say ye dem e de da ye sisi. Na enso da ye minim na ye kofa na ye ma na ye de ba anti omo meboa ye. No omu hu say si aba ya mobo Prestea Himan ya mobo nti omo meboa ye. Funde bebre aba oba video no wo ye won ka hwe de e bia de na mpa be da do nso a ni na fo bibia ye ntale bibia sempenfo ba no atwi afu no wa video won ka hwe no sanso.
Deputy Municipal NADMO Coordinator Emmanuel Sasa says they are working closely with the Municipal Chief Executive to ensure no one is left behind as they find a lasting solution to the problem.
And apart from getting them this relief place to stay, we have also collaborated with the assembly member to get some relief items in terms of mattresses, some food items, and also we have also written to the assembly and individual companies around Prestea also to get the information, to access the information to give us some relief items or support that we can use to help the victims over here.
But the community members are growing anxious as they await a response from the Municipal Assembly. The hope is that the Municipal Assembly will act swiftly before more lives are upended.
Irama Smith brought us that report from the Western region. Ghana faces a substantial shortage of teachers as new data reveals the country currently requires between 50,000 and 90,000 extra educators to adequately serve schools nationwide. The Education Minister Haruna Idrisu has told Parliament that despite the high demand for teachers, there is a limited budget to recruit the numbers needed to address the gap. But he assures that there are ongoing reforms to tackle staffing requirements, noting that over 10,000 new teachers for pre-tertiary and tertiary institutions are expected to begin work in July this year.
Every year you have over 5,000 teachers produced in Ghana, but you don't have the clearance to be able to engage them. But I admit that there is acute shortage of teachers in the country. As I have indicated, our national need and requirement will be to recruit for about 50,000 teachers. I only have clearance for 7,000 and for about 3,000 for the tertiary education space. You now have the Commission for Technical and Vocational Education. You now have the GES. And therefore, when we are recruiting, we allocate both for TVET and for GES. But there is a difference between need and what I have budgetary approval for. My need is between 50 to 90,000 teachers, but I have clearance for 7,000, and that's what I'm making do with. Thank you.
The Education Minister also lamented a huge backlog of different batches of trained teachers who were not recruited from 2023 to 2025 due to the implications on the compensation budget and lack of financial clearance.
Our attitude as a country has been to train teachers. So you had UCC, University of Education, Winneba, and the teacher training colleges across the country. Mr. Speaker, for 2023, the batch that completed teacher education training were not recruited. 2024 were not recruited. 2025 not recruited. So you have a huge backlog of trained teachers who are not being engaged because of its implications on the compensation budget. So currently, even the 7,000 that we are discussing, the difficulty is what number of the 2023 batch are you taking? And what number of the 2024 batch are you taking? I'm sure my colleague, the Honorable Fojo, who previously was at the Ministry of Education, went through the same stress I'm going through. You can only proceed when you have financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance to engage and recruit. And as I have announced, a new batch of 7,000 will begin work from the 1st of July. Only yesterday, I engaged the Director General of the GES together with the managers of the portal, the system, to see how we get this process going.
And you have the Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu. Civil Society Group, the Institute for Education Studies, however, believes that teacher recruitment will not answer the many questions posed to the country's education system. In a statement, IFS said concerns on teacher allowance, recruitment and accommodation continue to fight against realizing the full potentials of many young students. Dr. Peter Partey Anti is Executive Director of IFS. He joins us live on the phone. Doc, if not teachers, what can address this challenge, really?
Well, I think that in the first place, I need to say that the minister seems to have some good intention for the teacher front. Of course, you cannot build schools and put students in the classroom without the teacher. The teacher is at the center of everything that you do in the education system. But the approach they are using is not efficient, it's not effective. Because the minister knows that even within the Ministry of Education, there are competing needs, and that he will not get the resource to even recruit the number of teachers that he's talking about, even if it is available. So it means that you do not have that resource to do what your aspiration is. What do you do then? What you need to do is to go through the policy process in a way that would lead to you solving the basic problem. The basic problem is that in this country, there are certain areas that teachers do not want to go. And we all know why, because of the issue of certain basic amenities that they are supposed to, get access to, that is not there. And even when they accept to go there, the maximum years that they stay there ranges around 1 to 2 years. They will move away. So you look at that and you'll see that there is imbalance. There's issue of teacher deployment, redeployment, rationalization that we need to deal with. But you cannot do all this without a complete audit and understanding of the number of vacancies that are actually available. So I think that the minister should start from a point of doing an independent audit. He should rely on an independent institution to audit the vacancies that are available. After that, the NDC identified the problems during when they were in opposition. They said that, look, teachers are not going to these areas because of basic allowance. So they said they will give you 20% of your basic allowance, and then they said that they will do the teacher dabre. These are policies that are meant to deal with the issue of retirement, people staying at the places where they have been posted to. So after you do the audit, what I think the minister should be thinking about now is looking at how do I operationalize these two promises, so that when I finally recruit and send somebody there, the incentives there will keep the person there, because the point is that there are no incentives to keep the teachers in those underserved areas. And I think that the minister should be focusing on that. After that, you also have to look at your redeployment strategy. How are you going to now make sure that there is even distribution of teachers across the country? You need to do that. When you have done all this, you will be clear in your mind the vacancies, the actual number of teachers that you need. And then when you post them, you know that they are going to stay. That is why we think that this is more of a policy issue. The minister to step back, because he knows he will not get the resources to recruit that number. But he should be efficient and effective. And in doing that, that requires he going through the policy process in the manner that is supposed to be.
For the sake of time, we'll have to end it here, but thank you very much, Dr. Partey, for joining us.
Thank you.
And you had there Dr. Peter Partey. He's an executive director of IFS. Thank you for speaking to us. The Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council, in collaboration with the Minerals Development Fund, has intensified the enforcement of the polluter pays principle in mining communities across the region. Under the initiative, several hectares of degraded land have been earmarked for reclamation, with the full cost of restoration expected to be borne by small-scale miners responsible for the environmental damage. William Evans Zinkum is a man in the Ashanti region. He joins us live on the phone. William, how exactly is this polluter pays principle being enforced among local miners?
Well, so they're ensuring that small-scale miners take full responsibility when it comes to reclaiming the land and also restoring the land's fertility. So, for instance, those who are hoping to get a license to operate, most of them, I'm told, have applied to be part of this particular exercise. So if you go to some of the heavily degraded areas or mining areas in the region, for instance, yesterday we were at Bosome Frehon, visited about 3 mining communities, and these are mining communities that largely have been taken over by illegal mining. So, I mean, the destruction of land is very, very visible. And we saw about 3 or 4 of them who have discussion, or who have had discussion with the RCC to reclaim the land. One of the miners that we spoke to told me he spent about 10.5 million Ghana cedis in reclaiming the land. And Beatrice, don't forget that sometime in February, when the sector minister came to the Ashanti region, of course, he visited one of those reclamation sites. He said government is not spending less than $48,000 in reclaiming this land. So what the RCC is doing appears to be a safe cost initiative, and that is to the government, because this time around it is the miners who are reclaiming these lands.
And what more can you tell us in terms of who has spoken?
Well, of course, so we have been engaging the Assistant Deputy Ashanti Regional Security Liaison Officer, Alaji Inje, who has been telling us how this whole initiative, began. Let's listen to him.
This is a directive from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to the various regions that have these mining problems in their areas. So the Ashanti region, led by the regional minister, Dr. Frank Amakohene, took it upon himself, had a committee led by the national security, that is the regional national security, NADMO, EPA, and then the Minerals Development Fund. So I think some few months ago, we opened this up to the general public, especially those in the mining areas, and local companies who are interested and willing to help reclaim the land. So most of them were taken to vetting, and then we have to go and inspect the sites that they want to reclaim. And I think we had about 23 of them whose applications were approved by the regional minister. And then we have to follow up some few weeks ago. So we have to follow up and see if they are really doing what they are supposed to do. So I think with you, we've been to about 3 places. For a start, I will say so far, so good going forward. Because we have seen one of the places, the person has planted, I think, palm seedlings and some other stuff. Other places too, cassava and others. And as I'm speaking with you, we are here with some of the farmers who lost their lands through this degradation. They are happy now that they've gotten their lands back, and they want to come back and farm again.
And William, I know that you also visited Bosome Frehon, one of the hotspots of illegal mining, where large areas of land have equally been degraded. How is this campaign changing the narrative on the ground?
Well, now it is building some level of confidence among farmers who hitherto complained, raised concerns agitated, embarked on a number of protestation just to halt the invasion of these small-scale miners. Now, what is happening is that they are able to grow. And I can tell you, for instance, one of the communities at Kambuso, a large tract of land has now been able to, they've been able to restore a large tract of land which was heavily degraded. Now they've been able to convert it into a cocoyam plantation. There was another one that has also been able to, they've been able to grow a palm tree. So now they are beginning to see a change in narrative as far as this particular principle or policy is concerned, and they are happy about it.
Thank you very much, William Evans Zinkum. He's my colleague in the Ashanti region. Metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies have been tasked to champion the newly launched Green Communities Initiative in their respective areas, with their performance to be tracked through a competitive league table. The charge came from the Deputy Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Prestea Adu, at the official launch of the initiative. Abraham Mensah has the rest of the story.
The Green Communities Initiative, championed by the Department of Community Development, targets planting and nurturing of 2 million trees by 2028 across Ghana. The program, which operates under the auspices of the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, forms part of a broader strategy to mitigate climate change. Among other measures taken to sustain the drive is the introduction of a district league table, which will oblige local assemblies to meet key performance indicators towards the national target. Addressing stakeholders at the launch in Takoradi, the Deputy Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Prestea Adu, clarified that the league table will assess MMDAs on their commitment to the sustenance of the initiative and also encourage competition and peer learning within the broader framework of the green economy.
Green communities targets be fully integrated into your 2026 to 2029 medium-term development plans. Performance will be assessed based on measurable indicators, including tree survival rates, waste reduction and recycling outcomes, community participation levels, creation and maintenance of green public spaces. The ministry will publish a quarterly Green Communities League table to recognize outstanding performance, encourage healthy competition, and support districts facing implementation challenges. Together, we will celebrate success and learn from one another.
The National Director of the Department of Community Development, Stephen Blay, is convinced the initiative will support the attainment of the broad objective of enhancing communities' resilience to climate change.
The Green Communities Initiative presents a timely, strategic and transformative approach to addressing climate change, poverty and weakened social cohesion in Ghana. By empowering communities to take the lead in environmental stewardship, the Department of Community Development, under the guidance of the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, will help create greener, healthier and more resilient communities.
Abraham Mensah brought us that report from the Western region. And that's it for the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to shrinews.com for more news.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, banking expert rallies behind patient capital from Ghana Stock Exchange as key to economic growth.
I am trusting that we'll have a lot more Ghanaian companies doing the same. It makes our economy a lot better. It ensures that we are able to raise the kind of funding that we all need.
Meanwhile, Government of Ghana targets third straight oversubscription with a 5.274 billion cedis Treasury bill auction today. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories lined up for you. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. And Managing Director of Absa Bank Ghana, Edward Nate Boche, has emphasized the critical need for local businesses to tap into the Ghana Stock Exchange to secure patient capital and long-term funding. Speaking to 3 Business, Mr. Boche highlighted that while short-term banking solutions serve immediate customer needs, access to capital markets is vital for businesses looking to expand, scale sustainably, and drive broader economic growth. He expressed optimism that more Ghanaian companies would utilize the stock exchange for their businesses to drive.
Customer needs are very much varied. There are customers who would want short-term funding. There are some who would want much longer-term funding. And then there are some who would need capital. All right. It is important that businesses understand that there is a place for capital. There is a place for long-term funding. There is a place for being able to access funds like this because it allows you to be able to expand, it allows you to be able to grow, it allows you to be able to meet the needs that you have in addition to bank loans. I am trusting that we'll have a lot more Ghanaian companies doing the same. It makes our economy a lot better. It ensures that we are able to raise the kind of funding that we all need to ensure that we are able to grow and to thrive.
So that was Managing Director of Absa Bank Ghana, Edward Nate Boche, speaking there. Now, Government of Ghana is making a bold return to the domestic market, debt market this Friday, June 19, 2026, with an ambitious target to borrow 5.274 billion cedis. The massive issuance, organized under Tender 2012, will see the state issue treasury bills across the standard short-term tenors, the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day bills.
Market observers are watching today's auction closely as government aggressively chases its third consecutive oversubscription streak. In recent weeks, the domestic market has demonstrated robust liquidity and strong investor appetite, consistently yielding more bids than the state's initial target. This Friday's auction, with a target of 5.274 billion cedis, will serve as a critical litmus test for local market confidence. Government relies heavily on this short-term instrument to manage its immediate fiscal obligations and roll over maturing debts. This continuous borrowing cycle keeps domestic interest rates under intense scrutiny as investors weigh the state's rising debt demand against market liquidity. While the high targets reflect the state's intensive financing needs for the 2026 fiscal year, 3 Business notes that the recent momentum of oversubscriptions suggests a favorable outlook. However, all eyes remain on how pricing and interest rates will react to such a massive volume request when the tender officially closes today.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has announced a significant 26.6% expansion in total banking sector assets, climbing to almost 494 billion cedis. Speaking on the industry's performance, Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama highlighted the strengthened capital adequacy ratio, which rose to 22.3%. While Dr. Isiama noted that these developments reflect the resilience of the banking sector and the collective efforts of regulatory institutions, he warned stakeholders against becoming complacent.
Total banking sector assets expanded by 26.6% to 493.9 billion Ghana cedis. Your capital adequacy also strengthened, with industry ratio increasing to 22.3% from 17.5% a year ago. Asset quality, that has also improved, with the NPL ratio declining from 23.6% down to 18%. These developments demonstrate the resilience of the banking sector, and it reflects the collective efforts undertaken by all institutions, including ourselves, represented right here. Nonetheless, we must not become complacent. Elevated credit risks remain a concern, and banks must continue to strengthen credit underwriting standards. They have to improve recovery processes, and they must comply fully with regulatory requirements that are aimed at reducing non-performing loans to tolerable prudential targets.
That was Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, speaking. Away from that, Ghana risks missing its renewable energy target unless government agencies and stakeholders coordinate their efforts more effectively. That's according to the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. Despite a range of policies designed to accelerate the country's transition to cleaner energy, concerns remain over slow implementation and fragmented institutional efforts. Ghana is targeting a 10% renewable energy share in its electricity generation mix by 2030 as part of efforts to diversify its energy sources, strengthen energy security, and reduce carbon emissions. Speaking at a forum on driving Ghana's green future, policy lead for minerals and mining policy at ACEP, Mabel Akwe, said stronger collaboration among state institutions, regulators, and industry players would be critical if the country is to achieve its clean energy ambitions.
One of the key challenges that usually come up is the institutions acting in silos, right? So we have institutions who are not even aware that they have roles to play in all these national energy transition policies, especially those in the sub-national level. Those are the local government level. That's why today you see people from the MMDAs, the municipalities, coming here so that they will understand and also appreciate energy. So that when we talk about energy transition, they will not see it as a Ministry of Energy thing, but they can also see themselves and how they can leverage it to develop the communities at the sub-national level, and how do they even tap into the broader economic opportunities or the policy environment that our regulatory frameworks create for them to come up with interventions that connect well. How do we address or clarify roles across agencies, across ministries?
So that was policy lead for minerals and mining policy at ACEP. That's the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Mabel Akwe speaking. Meanwhile, the Deputy Director for Nuclear and Alternative Energy at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. Robert Sogbaji, said government remains committed to meeting its renewable energy goals. He said several renewable energy projects are currently being rolled out across the country as part of efforts to increase renewable energy capacity and keep Ghana on track to meeting its 2030 target.
That is why we have a target of 10% renewable, that is modern renewable in our energy mix by 2030. And that's why we are implementing the Scaling Up Renewable Energy Program, where we are constructing mini grids in 35 island and lakeside communities. We are doing a 200 megawatts and 1,500 megawatt hour BSS, that is battery energy storage system for the grid. We are also making sure that our thermal plants are using gas to generate electricity, and we are also pushing for e-mobility. So about more than 23,000 electric vehicles are already in the system as we push for more charging stations across the nation. So when you look at our policies, everything that we are planning and we are doing is towards, meeting our green energy transition targets.
You hear the Deputy Director for Nuclear and Alternative Energy at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. Robert Sogbaji, bringing an end to today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, kindly check out our website at 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.